Hello and welcome to the ROZEE Power Talks session. My name is Tamkineth and we're joined here today by the Vice Chancellor of LUMS, Mr. Sohail Naqvi. He has also served as the Executive Director of the Higher Education Commission for 8 years. And the topic of conversation today is the quality of education in Pakistan and its repercussions on Pakistan's economy. And considering your vast experience in the field of education, what would you say is the prevailing quality level of education presently?
Well, if you're talking about education, then that means the entire domain. So we're talking preschool education to PhD level. At each level, one would have to consider the question differently. And also, the problem is that the quality varies very significantly from one institution to another. Since my expertise is in higher education, so I will limit my remarks to that arena. And in that case, there is a significant difference, although I think over the years that difference, the minimum level has come up, but the quality varies widely. Also, it's a question of what exactly do you mean by quality? Are you talking about an immediate response that this person can solve this particular problem that I have? Or is it some other constraints, fundamental constraints in the education system?
No, I definitely mean in comparison to the quality standards prevailing at international levels. Do our institutions have the same tools and to provide our students with the same skills that it can use compared to other students from other countries?
Yes, I think that there is a significant majority of our educational institutions that are imparting good level education. And I'm using the word good purposely to indicate that such institutions that exist at the international level, where also the quality varies widely, their education that is being imparted in Pakistan is of a similar level. We do have top level institutions in Pakistan that are offering high quality education that is comparable to the best that the world has to offer.
So considering a high level of education institutions, how do you think they've differed and progressed with time, the level of education that they provide?
Well, there was a time prior to the establishment of the Higher Education Commission where the standards did not exist and the quality of education varied significantly, and also even the highest level of quality of education that was being offered was really not up to the world standard. Also, the higher education was available only to a very small and select group of people. It was only available in a few disciplines, and there were vast areas in which there was basically nothing available. Our structure was incorrect in the sense that we had a 2-year bachelor degree in a lot of disciplines. The postgraduate programs were also not structured properly, many a times with research only. So since those times to where we are today with a well-structured 4-year undergraduate program, a 30 credit hour master level program, and a proper PhD program that requires both coursework, original research, as well as publication at the international level, there's been a big and a huge change.
Definitely, Pakistan's education has progressed with time, but would you say that most of Pakistan's problems would be solved by achieving a certain rate of literacy? And if so, what are some of the ways that you can achieve it?
Well, literacy, I would say, is basically you're talking about the lowest form of education, where you're talking about a person's ability to read a paragraph. And in Pakistan, in fact, we define literacy to just being a signature or reading a name. So that is like the first rung of a 1,000-rung ladder. Today's knowledge economy and the knowledge world that we live in, it demands more. Simply being able to read or write is not enough. But if we talk about Pakistan, well, let's get them to be able to read and write first, and then we talk about the higher levels.
So would you say we have a false concept of literacy in Pakistan?
We definitely have a false concept. Our definitions are fundamentally wrong as far as literacy is concerned. Even within literacy, we take the lowest level of literacy to represent literacy.
So what do you think some of the ways are that you can reform our educational facilities?
Well, education has to be treated as the #1 priority of Pakistan. It is more important than any other issue. It is the root cause of many of our problems. And so you start with that intention and that recognition that education is the core issue that the country needs to be focused on. Then you create a viable plan, you execute it, you provide money for it. I mean, sounds very, very simple, but really those are the basics. And we have been messing up on the basics here.
Who do you think has to initiate this concept of literacy and its very need for it?
Education is already enshrined in our constitution as a fundamental right. So the legal framework certainly exists. Now it is the question of those who are elected by the people that they actually implement the constitution. It is also incumbent on the people to demand their rights and to demand a country in which education is placed at the highest priority level.
You were talking about how the quality level of education differs with the institutions, but it also differs in the way that it's provided to the upper classes and the lower classes. What do you think that education gap mean for the economic stage?
Well, I don't think that there is that much of a difference of provision of education in the upper classes or lower classes. I mean, I'll take example of LUMS, that I'm an institution that I had at this time. We have need-blind admission. We don't care where the person is coming from. If the merit is there and the person is able to get admitted, then the same facilities and level of education will be provided to that person as anybody else. Government institutions have very, very low tuition fees. So they are attracting people from all economic strata. It is difficult still in government institutions to live in a big city for certain people, but for a vast majority of people, the educational system at least is not distinguishing on your ability to pay. There are certain institutions that are, however, requiring that you do have the funds before you will be able to get education. There is definitely discrimination. Obviously, if you can't pay, you can't get in there.
But there is also a vast discrimination between institutions and how employers look at it. If you have a marketing degree from LSE as opposed to if you have a marketing degree from UCP, so LSE obviously wins. How do you think we can counter that?
Well, in education now worldwide, there is the concept of accreditation, which means that they are doing a deep dive. They're looking at your curricula, they're looking at your faculty, they're looking at your processes, your facilities, and your systems, and ensuring that the institution and the program meets minimum standards. So such a regime of accreditation, which is a requirement, for example, of the Bologna Protocol, and the European higher education area now consists of almost 50 countries, and in all of them you are setting up proper accreditation systems for institutions and for programs. That is the way to go forward.
According to a recent survey, 76.6% of the employers in Pakistan are not happy with the quality of graduates that universities are producing. Where do you think the fault lies?
I'm not so sure about it. I mean, this is rather a dramatic statistic, but taking it at face value, the thing is that if one sort of brutal way of looking at it is that the industry is the customer. If the customer is not happy, then you have a problem in the entity that is supplying. So the problem has to lie with the institution. But I would say that to some degree it probably lies with the employer and their expectations also. However, one would need to review this issue in further detail to be able to give a good answer to this.
So going back to the fact that students need to have certain tools in order to compete in an international climate, what improvements do you think that the general Pakistan syllabus can use in order to give students that sort of skill?
Well, I think that one needs to understand that education is imparted in a number of different ways. The lecture is one way to do it. Group tasks are another way. Involving yourself in extracurricular activities is also another way. I mean, there are different surveys that are being carried out where the employers are placing more emphasis on soft skills as opposed to hard skills. In Pakistan, we have a tendency to really cram the material into the syllabus and say everybody has to know everything. It just doesn't work like that. Your primary purpose in higher education is that you're teaching the person how to learn. Let's recognize we will not be able to teach them everything. So we teach them a certain amount, the fundamentals, certain applications according to their interests, and we teach those well. But we leave room to allow for extracurricular activities, and we also leave room to allow for other subjects such as the humanities and social sciences, arts, drama, to also play a role in their education.
Would you say that the Pakistan syllabus was more theoretical than demonstrative?
Well, while we were at the Higher Education Commission, this was a constant struggle that we had in devising the curriculum and to maintain that balance between fundamental theory and practice. The employers are inclined towards the person having a skill and having that particular skill that they are interested in. As an educational institution, you're not providing education for 1 year or 2 years. You want to give them the basics that they will be good for and able to learn for all of their lives. So there's always this trade-off that occurs, and different institutions are meeting this balance in a different way.
If you could just shine some light on the past, present and future trends of business-oriented educational fields and their need in today's economic climate, because as you might have noticed, a lot of students were picking human resource and then marketing and then supply chain management in that order with the coming times and reforms in businesses. So what do you see, what educational field would be more prominent in the coming years?
Well, business education will definitely remain prominent. We are a young country, we are a rapidly growing country, and we are a rapidly urbanizing country. As the villages turn into towns, and as the towns turns into cities, and the cities become larger, the change, lots of changes will be occurring. Consumer behavior changes, and their needs change with the resources that are available to them. So all of these subjects that you talk about are important. I mean, one of the issues that companies have been talking to us about these days is understanding the rural consumer. So Pakistan's rapidly urbanizing community is not well understood, and a large majority of rural people who now have the resources to start entering into the middle class layer, their behaviors and patterns are not understood. So for example, that is one area. Certainly supply chain for a country like Pakistan and logistics would remain a crucial item because of the poor infrastructure that we have. As that improves, the possibilities that will open up will mean that using this knowledge you will be able to provide enhanced and improved business services. Marketing is never going to go away. You know, you're going to be able to sell something that you tells people about it. So now which one remains on top, I think time only will tell, but they will all remain extremely important. The use of technology definitely will be increasing. So it will become a part of everything, whether it is marketing or logistics or supply chain or human behavior, whatever the case would be. So use of data, understanding big data, this will have a great impact on all of these fields. So you will not be able to run away either from computers or from math.
Pakistan is obviously very diversely talented, but it has a problem sustaining and retaining that talent. What would you say about this increasing trend of the brain drain situation?
Pakistan is one of the youngest countries of the world, and it is also one of the fastest growing countries in the world. There is no way that we will be able to provide jobs for all of these people within the country. We should accept brain circulation, not brain drain, as a reality, and take advantage of the opportunity that is offered by our talent that is working outside, that will then come back in again. They will acquire new skills. And I think we need to build our policies around that rather than thinking about it as a bad thing. It is a reality. We have to work with it.
Wouldn't you say that we end up losing our best talent to other countries? And do you think there are any ways that we as a society can reshape ourselves in order to retain and sustain that talent?
Well, I don't think that we are losing all our best talent. I think that, for example, men and women differ completely in their desire to go and ability to go outside. And also, there are various reasons, family compulsions, according to which people stay here. They are very successful enterprises here. So it is not necessary that the best talent is going out, but definitely an environment that is supportive and, for example, that will focus on entrepreneurship and provide that nurturing environment where new companies can be built and grown in the country, that will make a huge impact, because entrepreneurship is going to be and is already showing to be one of the most rapidly developing areas in Pakistan.
Speaking of entrepreneurship, we have a question from the audience. How do you think universities can create a direct relationship between education and entrepreneurship in order to make the transition as smooth as possible?
Well, I think a very good example is what we do at LUMS. We have a LUMS Center for Entrepreneurship, which has a 4-month incubation cycle and gets in new companies. It puts them through a boot camp and a structured program in which the participants learn how to build a company and grow it. It is located on campus. We work with industry. We have a foundation council that consists of various people who are successful entrepreneurs who provide mentorship and support to these young people. And it's a very vibrant community that creates a lot of interest. So I think that is an ideal way to move forward.
I think that's commendable, because graduates need direction, and if they can demonstrate their ideas, then it allows them to have a clear goal. So what are some of the other ways that we can encourage the right direction? Because people graduate and they have a degree in certain areas, but they don't know what to do with that degree. So do you think that career counseling would also help?
Well, okay, we're talking lots of different things here. I mean, in terms of learning what to do, so that is where career counseling and also mentorship and, let's say, working with alumni who have graduated from your institution comes in very handy. So there's an entire support system that needs to exist to allow the graduates to succeed. As far as entrepreneurship is concerned, you have to very rapidly make them realize that we are talking about the real world. The real world is caring about the quality of what you have to offer, how rapidly you can offer it, what the price margins are, is not really caring about anything else. So the incubation centers are supposed to be those places where they are introduced to the real world, they are told what the real world measures and metrics are, how does one succeed in that, and then they allow them to transition. So it's like a halfway house from a sheltered environment of a university into the business world.
Okay, so talking about this current technological progression, what do you think is the future of educational facilities with respect to how fastly technology is developing?
Well, I have heard people say that the traditional university is not, going to be there. Also, that information is all going to be available to you already, and that the purpose of the university is going to be the application of that knowledge. That is one way, but I don't see the traditional university model going away. I see a hybrid model. I see technology making knowledge available, information available, but its fundamental discussion, its discourse, the involvement of people in this paradigm is going to remain something crucial. And also the environment of a university where you are allowed to reflect, ponder, interact with other people, that is required. There are, there's only so much that you can do fast track. The rest of it has to take its due course and time. So I see more and more application of technology in education, but its fundamental mechanism of discourse and dissemination would remain essentially the way we have it at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naqvi, for joining us today. It has been an incredible pleasure. Is there a message you would like to give to the youth?
Yes, I would like to ask them to believe in themselves. They should not be waiting for things to happen to them, around them. They should become active participants. There is a whole world of knowledge that is available at the fingertips. Technology has really changed things around. It has made the flatter world. They have to take advantage of this opportunity over here. If they are not getting knowledge or information or the relevant skill at one place, at one institution, there is a wide world out there which has many, many opportunities, and they need to go out there and get them. And keep that faith in themselves alive. That is the most crucial thing. The youth are the most important resource of this country, and it is important that for this country, that is the future, and we should invest everything in that.
That is absolutely true. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Do also tune in to the next session. We hope this has been helpful. Thank you and goodbye.